Continuous, there we go. Okay, so looks like the camera finally picked me up. Get the mic adjusted. Hey, how's it going today out there in YouTube land? Welcome to the channel, Finding Truth, where we are out testing gear, looking for the best deals on the best photography equipment you can get for the best price. And this video in particular is going to be about Fuji lenses or Fuji glass and aftermarket options and what is the best lens to pick up if you are new to Fujifilm and you're trying to kit yourself out for just beginner learning on the camera and how to shoot and use it and get the best quality images you can for the least amount of money. So first off, I just want to mention the lenses that I have used personally, I've owned or used extensively. And from Fuji, I've had the 18mm f2, I've had the 35mm f2, I've had the 18 to 55mm f2.8 to f4 kit lens, and I've had extensive use of the 60mm f2.8 macro, as well as the 50mm f2. Tried both of those out quite a bit and enjoyed them. Now, as far as aftermarket lenses, I own the Rokinon 12mm f2, and I own the Samyang 85mm f1.4. Both lenses that I would highly recommend for their price. It doesn't necessarily mean they're the best lenses out there, but at their price, it's really hard to beat what you can get out of those lenses. Possible lenses that I'm interested in that I have not currently used or held would be the Viltrox 85mm f1.8, which is the autofocus aftermarket lens that I've been talking about that really does have me excited. Next would be the Zeiss series of Tuit lenses. They have a 12mm f2.8, they have a 32mm f1.8, and they have a 50mm f2.8. All of those offer autofocus on the Fujifilm cameras. So they catch my interest. The Zeiss lenses are quite expensive comparative to like the Rokinon or the Samyang or even the Viltrox. The Viltrox comes in around $369 compared to the Samyang 85mm f1.4, which comes in at about $239. So you are going to spend about $120 to $130 more to get the autofocus. And what I'm curious about is the sharpness and color rendition that you're going to get off of that lens when in comparison to the cheaper Samyang or Rokinon. But those are kind of the ones that I'm interested in or have owned or used. When we start talking about these, there's always the question of pro lens versus kit lens and what you get out of making the extra step of purchasing a pro lens. There are some advantages to most of the pro lenses. For example, if it's a zoom lens, the pro lenses will tend to have a continuous f-stop throughout the zoom range, normally an f2.8 or an f2. Now this means that throughout the zoom range, let's say you're shooting video, you won't see a f-stop change, which would require a shutter change to maintain the same amount of light going to the sensor, and that is an advantage. So the larger f-stop range that you get throughout the zoom range allows you also to shoot in lower light because the more open f-stop is bringing more light to the sensor itself. When you're talking fixed focal ranges, you normally just end up with a lower f-stop than what you can purchase in the prosumer or consumer lens options. So for example, instead of a 50mm f2, the pro option is a 56mm f1.2. So that's a little over a stop better of light collection. Now, how does that help you in your photography? It obviously will make it so that you can shoot in lower light easier. What happens on your camera when you're shooting in lower light with a more open f-stop is that you don't have to use quite the high ISO range that you would use without it. It also allows for a shallower depth of field, so it makes your subject pop more or come out of the frame more, more of a 3D type look. For example, the video that you're watching, you can see the guitar body behind me right here. It's very, very fuzzy. It's not that far behind me. It's about 4 feet behind me. But everything in the background being fuzzy makes it so that my profile stands out in the image. And that's how you isolate your subject. So it's a little easier to isolate your subject with a professional lens than it is with a kit lens. Now, in Fujifilm lenses, we see less of a difference in sharpness between the kit lens and the pro lenses compared to what you would notice with, say, Nikon kit lenses versus their pro lenses. In general, their kit lenses do tend to be quite soft compared to their pro lenses. Fuji has done a different thing here where their kit lenses have extremely good sharpness and extremely good color rendition. I've been very pleased with all of them. So I've not found one that really disappointed me. The 18 f2 is the one that kind of gets bagged on by the community when you start watching reviews on it. People aren't super happy with the sharpness out of that lens. I'll tell you, I never took a picture out of it where I thought, this is just not good enough to use. I have seen better sharpness from some of their other lenses, but not a huge difference like you would see in many of the kit lenses from other other camera companies. Sorry. Sometimes I get all flabbergasted with my words. So that's just kind of a big surprise to me to see the amount of sharpness that you get out of, for example, the 18 to 55 f2.8 to f4. Now, of course, you get the f-stop change when you extend the zoom. It goes to an f4 instead of staying at f2.8 like you would get with the pro lenses. But the sharpness of this lens has been absolutely phenomenal. I've been very, very happy with it, especially for the price. You can pick one of these up used for right around $300, and that is a good purchase in my opinion. Now, what about the different series of lenses that they make? So they do have the XF series, which this lens is one of. If you look here, you will see, if I can get the camera to focus, it wants to stay focused on my face. But if you look right here, you'll see a little XF badge in black. The pro lenses have the same FX badge, but in red. So that denotes the pro from the prosumer. The next series of lenses that they make is the XC series of lens. They do get good ratings, especially for the price, but I personally have not used one of these lenses, any of them. So I can't tell you my personal opinion on them. I can only tell you what I've read, seen in example photos, and seen on review channels. It does look like they would be a great vacation lens as long as you're not going to be shooting in some massively low light scenarios. And even so, Fuji does do really good with the ISO, so if you need to bump up your ISO to be able to use one of those lenses in a certain scenario, most of the time your images will still be very usable. So that's a plus. But yeah, they just have a higher f-stop range. So instead of going all the way down to 2.8 and up to 4 like the XF lenses does that I showed you, they will start somewhere around 3.5 and go up as high as 5.6 throughout the zoom range. They may even go as high as 6, I'm not quite sure. But the one that really interests me in that XC line is the I believe it is a 55 to 230. It might be a 50 to 230. But the reach on that looks really interesting. When you couple that with an APS-C sensor, you're going to get about 350 millimeters of length on your lens instead of 230 because of the 1.5 crop factor. Now, let's see. So that's kind of it for the lenses. I would personally recommend any Fujifilm shooter when you're new to the system, when you purchase your first camera, to try to be able to purchase it with the 18 to 55 lens. Barring that option, I would look for the 35 f2 or the 50 f2 to start with. The 23 f2 would be a good option as well, but I haven't personally used that lens, so I can't speak on that one as well as I can the other two. The 18 to 55 is just a wonderful lens for almost any kind of photography, and if you want to really step it up, you could purchase the lens that follows that one, which is the XF 55 to 200, and that would give you a really wide range from 18 to 200 to use on vacations, any type of traveling, or just going out and shooting whatever you want, you know, family outings, going to your kids' football game. Great options for that. So those would be my recommendations. If you happen to purchase a used camera like I do, that does not include a lens, and if you are okay with manual focus, I would highly recommend almost any of the Rokinon or Samyang lenses. I would recommend that before you purchase a specific focal length that you go and watch some reviews on that specific lens and make sure that it is producing the quality that we're getting used to from that company. Some of them are not quite as good as others, so it's good to keep that in mind. I'll be right back. So, let's get back to it. So those are my suggestions on the lenses to purchase. The next thing I want to talk about real quick in this video is just things that I've noticed over the last week of using my XA5 and where I'm at with the camera so far. I've only owned it for a week, so this is by no means any type of long-term review. This is just my first impressions. So far I'm loving the image quality in both stills and videos. It's actually outperforming my expectations on both. That's a rarity when you're talking about purchasing any type of electronic. I'm normally disappointed by what I find, not excited or exceeding my expectations. And this camera has so far, specifically for the price point. I mean, if I had paid $1,000 for this camera, I might not be so happy with it. But at $239 used, I was extremely happy. Just a quick pointer, they do have another one up on MPB right now for sale. It's a little better quality. This one was a good condition. I think the one they have up on there is excellent condition, and they're asking about $260 or $269 for it. I would recommend that if somebody's looking for one of these cameras right now. It's well worth the money. Now, of course, that's without lens, so you would need to add a lens to it. The microphone input is a necessity for me, and it's what made me choose the XA5 over going with something like a Sony 5100. It's just extremely useful. It's very valuable for all types of video, but especially for vlogging, where you need to be able to get good audio out on the streets. So being able to plug a microphone into it is something that everybody should be looking for, an off-camera microphone, without having to buy a digital recorder. It's just another expense that you have to pay for when you have to buy an external recorder. It's also very valuable for vlogging, and I would recommend that if you're going to vlog with this camera, that you invest in a small lavalier microphone. Those are the microphones that clip onto your collar and just sit right here. Makes it very easy to hear what you're saying. It's very clear. Most of them have good wind protection, so you don't hear a lot of wind noise. The way that I'm shooting is still using the Nikon ME1 microphone, but I have it out with an extension cord and standing on a flash stand very close to me. It's actually sitting right over here. So that allows me to get the microphone closer to me without blocking the screen and get better audio, hopefully. We'll see how it turns out. But yeah, the problem with mounting any microphone on the actual camera is that it does block the LCD screen when you are trying to shoot yourself, so you will have a hard time seeing your framing. Oh, and just for information, today I am shooting on the 35 f2. That's the focal length of the lens that's on the camera currently, and this is the image that we're getting from that. The tracking focus on it seems to be pretty good. Not quite keeping up with what the 18-55 was doing, but it's still doing a very, very good job. It does have a little bit shallower depth of field, which means it is going to be tracking a little more often to keep me in focus, but it also blurs out the background quite a bit more than using an f2.8. It's almost a full stop difference right there. So once again, the microphone input is a necessity, in my opinion, if you want to vlog with the camera or if you intend to shoot it and get audio out of the camera. The time-lapse feature is wonderful, but there is one caveat. If you want to keep the images from your time-lapse as individual images, it automatically does that for you. But in that scenario, if you're shooting in RAW, your files are going to be large, which means a 32 gigabyte memory card is not going to be big enough to hold 999 shots, which is the limit on the intervalometer. So you'll never be able to max out a 32 gig, or you'll never be able to max out your shooting capabilities if you're using a 32 gigabyte card. I tried last night and failed. So you're going to need more room to be able to keep all of those images plus the video compilation at the end of that shoot. So I would recommend a 64 megabyte card, or I keep saying megabyte, I mean gigabyte, 64 gigabyte card in order to do a full 999 shot run with a video attached at the end. And this will nearly max out that card. It may max out that card. I'll do some tests tonight to find out. In 1080p, the video clip limit is 15 minutes. In the video I put up yesterday, I said that it was 30 minutes. That's the amount of video that my card says it will hold right now, not the length of the clip, which is why I got confused. So it does do 15-minute clips. Now, to me, that's not a big deal because those clips are continuous. The camera never needs to stop. You don't have to turn it off and restart it. You just continue with your video shooting as if nothing has happened. And your camera will store multiple clips. Every time you reach that 15-minute mark, it'll start a new clip. And then when you're in post-production, you just bring those into your platform that you're using, whether that be iMovie or DaVinci Resolve or whatever it's going to be. You bring those clips in and then line them up back to back in your timeline, and it will be a seamless, solid clip. So I don't see a problem with that. You just stitch them together in post-production and everybody's happy. So the fact of the matter is, most of the time if you're shooting 5-minute clip, you're going to end up doing some editing and cutting anyway, so the clips are going to get cut. I still need to get a hold of the correct micro USB cable to be able to test out the live view option on this camera. It looks like it has it. It looks like it will do what I want to do with a large external monitor so that it's very easy to see if I'm in focus or not. And it looks like it will also send all of the data to your external monitor. So your f-stop, your focus points, all of that information should be included on your external screen. Or you can turn that information off and just have your image. So that is exciting to me, but like I said, I have not been able to test that yet. Well, so that is about it for today. Just wanted to give you guys an idea of what lenses I recommend and what lenses I use. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and smash up those likes. Those likes help me more than anything else out there because they spread the video in front of new viewers so that new people can see this stuff. So let's smash up those likes, guys, and thanks again. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.